All right, all right. That was You Don't Know Me by Queso Tone. That's off his new single, The Signature. And I'm going to be bringing new music like that every week. And, you know, Queso Tone, once again, I had him on the show. Great artist, great young man. He's doing it real big. But, hey, look here. As I promised you, we got a political commentator on the phone, Miss Colette Ramsey, knowing all things politics, knowing all things business. Especially if you haven't looked her up, you need to look her up because she is doing big things, especially with cannabis. So, welcome to the show, Speak Rock the Show. Our political commentator, Colette. Colette, how you doing?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I am well. All right, did you catch anything that I was being bombastic about?
You just doing what you normally do about. I think I catch everything with you. Rock, I mean, that's what it's about. That's why it's always such a pleasure to be engagement with you, in conversation with you, because what you speak creates a life, and it causes us to think about things a little bit differently. So it's just, hey, however you want to jump in, whatever you want, however you want us to go. That's all Speak Rock. That's our word for today, Rock. So, hey, I'm ready for it.
Absolutely. Hey, but look, I want to get your insight because I believe you are aware of a new little wave that's going through. I don't want to say little. I don't want to demean nobody like that. But there's a rapper by the name of Yellow Pain, and he is having a social media wave dealing with he has a song out educating people on politics.
Sure.
And what's good about it is that he's sparking, he has an arousal sparking people's interest about why it's important to not just think about the executive branch, but also think about the legislative and judicial. Yeah. Telling people that it's important. But I know for me, Colette, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard the song in its entirety was voting is just the first step. Yeah. And it's not the only step. And there's many other steps that need to take place prior to that. So what I want to do today for Speak Rock Nation is to get your advice and your expertise about what we need to do as a people to come together to be able to truly exercise a legitimate and a valid vote that's not just only going to do right for our own personal households, but that's going to do right for us as a people as a whole.
Yes. I get that. Well, the truth of the matter is, Rock, and if we can stay right there, and I think you hit it on the head, that voting is a component. And you know what? And everyone, I'm going to ask for your indulgence before I start talking, because I know what I'm going to say a lot of people might not agree with, and that's fine. That's why we can have the conversation. There's truth on the Speak Rock show. But, Rock, more importantly, I think that we need to realize and act like we're Americans. And I gave a little, because I wanted to be deliberate. We don't believe that we are Americans. We still function like we're, and other people say, chattel. It's cattle. We function like we're in cattle slavery, that we are still slaves, that we are still waiting for someone to make it better for us. We are still waiting for the president to free us. We're still waiting for city council to create this ordinance. We're still waiting for government to make it fair and just for us. We're still waiting for America to give us our 40 acres and a mule. I mean, do you need me to keep going on and on? And so at the end of the day, if you don't realize who you are as an American, you then won't be able to understand who America is. And for me, it's a difference in who America is and who she says she is. The ideology of what we've bought into as this democracy is very different in the day-to-day of what we see America function as. And if people say, well, Colette, where does that come from? Well, look at the president. If you have no idea to say that you don't understand how this works, there's no reason why he should still be in office. Everyone knows, and people have agreed to what he has done was wrong. They say it was wrong, but it's not impeachable. Well, how does that, if it's wrong, it's wrong. You and I both know if you break the law and you're caught, you go to jail. Mm-hmm. When in America, that the head of state can be wrong, people say he's wrong, but not that wrong. You're wrong, but you're not that wrong. It's the shades of gray. And I believe that when we don't understand that we are America, then we give our power away, Rock, we can then begin to start thinking about what a vote looks like.
And you know what's interesting? When you speak of power, the next thing that comes to my mind is we all understand that there's power in numbers.
Yeah.
And if we don't have the numbers, if we're not operating numbers, I mean, almost everybody should know this. You get things done in numbers. When you talk about, yeah, go ahead.
Let me just ask you. I'm gonna put a little pin right in that, and I want people to realize, to the point, yes, it can be a massive amount of numbers, but depending on what the system is like, then it can be a small amount. And my point specifically is the electoral college. In this governance, we don't understand how a president is elected. So a president is elected by the electoral votes that states have, that then go into a pool that then determine who is going to be the president. The majorative vote, that is the body of the cloud, it's the multitude of us in our local jurisdictions, dictate who is the winner of the, whatever the case may be, if it's a city clerk, if it's the ombudsman, if it's the treasurer, if it's, the mayor, whatever that is. So we don't understand the relevance of numbers and power as it fits into that position as well.
Hey, I love where you're going. Let me ask you this question, because one of the things I've always thought, like when it comes time, especially for the presidential race and time to vote for the president, those are larger numbers. People show out in droves more so for that. And one of the things, also the other things that you see is that's when you have a lot of ambassadors, if you will, for their candidates. They come out and you have organizations that's trying to champion attention for their candidate. But what I'm getting at is, Colette, I'm gonna ask you this: where are the factions? Where are the educational pieces to all year round to educate the masses on the process of voting?
Yeah.
Where are they?
They're nowhere. Say that. They're nowhere, and you know why? Because they don't have to be. Because we've been trained in such a way, and then everyone else knows that we have been trained. And I'm speaking as a group of people, specifically as people of color, African descendants. Some people say, we get caught up in whatever the name is, okay?
Right.
But black and brown folk in America, everyone knows what our triggers are. So majority of us, what do they say? You go into a church, Rock, and you are moved up into the pastor, to the minister, and then that gets the validation from the group. If you pay certain monies towards maybe having a banquet or being able to put an advertisement in, a program and the like, then that gets you in. People no longer, few, far, wide, and between, have had to really understand what issues are. We don't know. A, we don't understand the process. B, when it is some time for us to engage, normally, forgive me, we're a one-trick pony. So people say, okay, well, I'm just coming here to vote on this one thing. All the other issues they don't know anything about, and they don't know the candidates. So there's no education piece of it. Now, we used to get away with that back in the day. Remember, it was just a Democratic slate.
Right.
So you just say, if it's Democrat, and you just hit the lever, then everybody's Democrat, they roll with it.
Yeah.
They're smart enough now. That's right. They say, well, no, we're not going to do that now. Now it's going to be individualized, and then we're going to have all this wording and all these things, and you're going to have to know the names of the candidates and who they are, because they know that normally that's not how we have been groomed. I'm not going to say taught. I'm not going to say educated. We have been groomed to do it the way that they say do it. So then, when they've switched up on it, so many of us have been removed from the process because we don't read. If we do read, we don't read to get an understanding. To your point, we're not, those real conversations that we should be having, we're not having those conversations about the real issues in our communities. And so then when it comes time for a vote, most of us, we just, forgive me, what do they say? Sit down and play dead and crazy.
Wow.
But then we complain.
and we complain year after year after year. Now,
Same old thing.
here's something that also I want to ask.
Okay.
So, taking Yellow Pains, let's just use his momentum. It's out there. I'm taking it. I'm taking your momentum, bruh. I'm taking the ball and I'm about to run with it a little bit. Yeah. So I take it upon myself. You take it upon you. Sharing information is always good.
Yeah.
I would say, because right now, I've always said this, we're splintered. You got a millennial movement charging on, go Bernie, go. You got, baby boomer movement still hanging on. 9 times out of 10, probably very conservative and pushing for the Trump movement. Oh, and by the way, believe it or not, there's African Americans that's still pushing for Trump. Believe it or not. So, and let me say it like this. And people always think that's a bad thing. I'm going to say it like this. You got to really know the diaspora of black people to understand, because all black people not broke, busted, and disgusted. Some of us got a 401k. Some of us got some investments. Some of us live in a different tax bracket. So, a liberal, progressive movement may not be the way that, we can assume that every black person needs to go that way. But I say all that to say, to make my point about how splintered we are, but I want to know, what are your thoughts on how do we come together, Colette? And part of what I said earlier, I was making mention about the documentary that's on TV, on Amazon right now, Who Killed Malcolm X? And I was making the analogy of, as far as I was concerned, Elijah Muhammad should have did everything in his power to protect and keep Malcolm X in the fold. The reason why I said that is that's how you groom and bring up and protect your future.
We'll stay there, right?
Go ahead.
First of all, stop. It's notorious in our communities we don't protect and groom our future. Mm-hmm. Do I need to say that again? It is notorious in our communities that we don't protect and groom. Our egos get caught in the way. That's why those of us who have known historically black businesses that have been 20, 30 years old, what don't those owners do? They don't bring in their children. They don't groom them to be able to have a succession plan. We see it in politics.
Right.
Think about it. All the other folks, and I'm going to give some examples. We can give the Dingles, for example. Mm-hmm. Debbie Dingle, her husband, John, they went through their thing. She was, almost 20-some years under him, but they had a plan. And he could sit up and ride this thing out till he was 90 years old, but she was right there waiting, and as soon as there became a position, she was in play. Now juxtapose that to the Conyers. And I'm just going to say it, and y'all don't have to like it. I don't understand why in the world Honorable John Conyers, as a sitting congressman, his wife, council president, or was she president? I believe at some point she was president or head, some leadership in council. There is no reason that when it was time for him to be able to move out of the way, that his wife should not have been prepared to take that position. His children should not have been prepared if they were of age and groomed correctly to take that position. And then that's just we can give examples from a business perspective, we can give examples from a political perspective, we can give examples a church perspective, pastors, ministers. It's something about us and giving power to someone else that we just refuse to do. Mm. We don't have a problem with believing that when we die, the whole thing can die.
Wow.
I'm just going to say it. And that's the issue with the civil rights movement. That was the whole issue with why we got a church, what they call the church at Detroit, is church on every corner. Because no one wants to sit and say that we might have a designated one person who is the face of who we are, but it's all of us that move the train forward, if you will.
Yeah.
So we don't want to play position. We don't understand position. We don't play well with each other. So as soon as we have one disagreement, remember we were young, they'd always say, when in your house, you keep everything in the house.
Right.
You don't take your business out in the streets. You figure it out in the house. We can agree to disagree in the house, and when we get up out this house, we're united front.
Right.
That's out the window. We don't know how, to communicate with each other. And to your point, we all believe that we are in the same class. And we are not. The difference here is a social economic structure. It's not the color of your skin. And we see it every day. Bless his heart. Brother Tyrone used to call my show all the time, and we would talk about what the educated Negroes and how historically the working class folk in Detroit would always vote in the quote-unquote educated folks who didn't identify with them, hadn't had the same plight, but the working class folks who have been the basis and the foundation of who Detroit is, I don't believe ever felt that they were astute enough to be able to take those positions. But they always gave their power away. And you gave it away for people who don't even identify with you. We could have had the same skin color, but we didn't have the same experience.
But no, let me ask you like this, Colette. Being that the voting season is upon us, I just talked to a buddy of mine today. He voted early. And what I'm saying is there time, or is it too late now in this season? Or is this something that we need to exercise in the future far as unifying? You know, how do we groom our politicians? How do we invest into our politicians? How do we get grassroots movements, not for just saying, vote for my guy? How do we collectively as a people, and this might be a lot to ask, but when and how do we get together and say, this councilman, this senator, this police chief, not police chief, but sheriff, because sheriffs get elected, not police chiefs.
Yes.
How do we come together as a group of people? How?
Well, let me tell you this much, right? I believe that if you have the answer to that question, you're already a trillionaire. Because for as long as we are, isn't that the same thing we're constantly talking about in each election cycle? It is the exact same thing. Bless the young man's heart, artist, yellow paint, and him trying to educate folks. But the problem is, it's the wrong message. Think about it. Look, we're clear. You just said it. Those who went through different eras, for majority of voting cycles across this nation, our seniors are the ones who pull the votes, period. Only with the nuance was Honorable President Barack Hussein Obama. At that time, you got a different group. College kids came out. People who hadn't thought about the disenfranchised folks, never thought about really engaging for whatever reason, but then they chose to. Outside of that, there's not this call to action. You have to meet them where they are. I tell everyone right now, if you want to jump into a race, know that your vote is going to be, you're going to split it, but it's going to come from that senior population, the diehard population that is there, has been there, specifically in Detroit. And everyone that I used to go back and forth with who didn't agree with me, I used to tell them who are our age group, you can miss me with that because y'all all moved to the suburbs. So you don't have a dog in this race. You all moved out. So you don't have a vote here. And so we no longer stick to work to make things right for us through the political process. Let me say that again. We don't stick to make things work for us through the political process. If your education system is bad, you get on the board in that jurisdiction so you can change education for your children. You don't go out to the suburbs where you believe it's better, and then I bet you everybody that ran out to the suburbs, they don't even go to the school board meetings. You don't know who's on your city council out in Farmington Hills. You don't know probably barely who your city clerk is out in Orchard Lake and White Lake, and I think you wanted me to keep going in those places because you feel that there's a comfort because you are out there.
Right.
And so there's no engagement, there's no education. And let me add this part. And then you're talking about different populations.
Okay.
So like these young folks, bless them, unless back in our day it was Raps to Vote. Remember, it was Rocks to Vote, then it was Raps to Vote, and then all the artists got involved, and we were like, okay, they made voting cool. Now everybody wants to be Hot Girl Summer. Maybe it's Megan Stallion and Nicki and all them were twerk the vote. Maybe if they did those things to get younger people engaged, or you could, maybe that it was what would validate these folks into getting something. But everybody's talking about securing the bag. All these young people want to talk about is securing the bag and partying and the hot girl and the hot boy.
So you saying basically, and then I'm gonna have to let you go after this because I got to go into my last segment. So you basically saying if we can rally together and go to King of Diamonds and get Bubbles off the pole, and we can get the Trap Boy, to get to the polls, we probably can make some noise with our vote.
I think so. And just last thing, and I employ everyone, if you don't agree with that, look at what Yo Gotti did with prison reform now with Mississippi. Is now shining a light on those unjust conditions. But who Yo Gotti is.
Facts.
Right? He just put out a new album, Untracked. And what does he have the visual on the album? He says it's a $30,000 house. It has a Lamborghini out front. It has a Lamborghini truck in the driveway. And so those two products alone might be $400,000, but you had a $30,000 house. Who's trained you that is okay? And in communities upon communities, that's our mindset. That's who we are.
Wow.
We will work hard in this race to do what they say do. Well, based on what they give to us, we justify it, and then we have nothing to show for it. And we're back to the voting piece again. We have nothing to show for it. We have nothing to show for it. And then we keep trying to have the same old dog and pony show. Right? That's just me.
No, I'm with you. I appreciate you calling in and giving your insight because we got to hear it hard. We got to hear it raw. And because if we don't break it down and let it punch us in the stomach about what really is and what state we're in as it pertains to participating in this voting process, we'll never know how to properly move forward. So I thank you for calling in again, Colette.
Thank you so much for having me anytime. It is a pleasure. I'm so proud of you and just thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, be blessed. Take it easy.
Okay, you stay blessed. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, that was our political commentator, Colette Ramsey. Hey, but look, we're getting ready to wrap the show up. Let me hit you real quick with a rock-solid advice, your RSA. In today's rock-solid advice is this. Hey, work your way to freedom. Everybody like to work, everybody like to grind, and everybody like to hustle. But I'm going to tell you something real quick. Y'all ain't going to like this, but I'm going to tell you. Most of y'all slaves to the industry. You're scared to lose something, and you're afraid that you're going to get on somebody's bad side. And what do I mean by that? Also, I'm going to use this rock-solid advice as a salute to Black History Month. One of the guys I look up as far as Black History Month, and that's Joe Clark. If you're not familiar with Joe Clark, I ask that you go ahead and stream a movie called Lean on Me. Lean on Me was a movie about a principal, and I want to say it was Newark, New Jersey. Basically, the school was down and out. Joe Clark did whatever he had to do to make sure that school was on the up and up, getting drugs out of school, kicking out all the degenerates, keeping all the drug dealers out, you name it, carried a baseball bat and a bullhorn. They called him Crazy Joe. You know what he did? He did what he had to do. Then all of a sudden, he got locked up because he put chains on the doors because it was against fire code for putting chains on the doors. Joe Clark was in a prison, or not in a prison, he was in a jail. Then somebody came to get him because the kids was outside rallying and rioting. So they said, Joe, you got to come outside so you can talk to these kids and keep them from rioting. Joe Clark, little dude dead in the eye, he said, you know what, I ain't got to do nothing but stay black and die. If you not on that level, you are controlled, you are owned, you are conditioned. Hey, I'm just a messenger. Don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you, work yourself to freedom. Don't ever get put in a situation where you're forced to say something, you're forced to do something, you're forced to operate, you're forced to capitulate to a situation because you tied in. I know it's easier said than done. I know you got to put beans and rice on the table. I know you got to feed your babies. I know you got to pay for a roof over your head. But tell me this, do you want to be shackled up? Do you still want to be tortured and just captured like a prisoner? Or would you rather still, you know what, at any moment of time, I can leave this job, I can leave this organization, I can leave this church, I can leave wherever, because you know what, I'm a free black man, I'm a free black woman, and something that I'm not going to stand is somebody trying to put me in prison. I don't know about y'all, but my Bible tells me who the Son has set free is free indeed. That's how your brother Rock like to roll. Hey, I'm just a brother from Detroit, what do I know? That is your rock solid advice for this week. It's just advice. Follow if you want. Hey, See y'all next week. I love y'all. Salute.